we do the fire thing?
Just read them out.
I can't see it on there. So there's no fire drill planned, but if it's on there.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Just starting, so you're right.
Fire safety, evacuation procedure, recording protocol. Fire escapes can be found at both ends of the Holly chambers. No fire alarm drill scheduled. On the sounding of an alarm, all personnel are to evacuate to the Holly's car park. The council members of the public request may film, record, photograph for live and or subsequent broadcast this meeting only when the public requests are lawfully excluded. Any member of the public who attends a meeting and objects to being filmed, recorded, photographed should advise the clerk in advance who will instruct that they are not to be included in the film recorded photography. Okay. So public session, no members of the public. So on to apologies for absence. I think we're all here, aren't we? So no apologies needed. Declarations of interest in dispensation. Right. Members declare any interest which are not currently entered in the members' register of interest and which she has not notified the monitoring office of it. 2, to receive written request for dispensation for disclosable pecuniary interest. 3, to grant any request for dispensation as appropriate. 1. Right, to confirm the previous minutes. Does anybody, is this the one?
No.
Does anybody want to make any comment on the meetings? Last meeting's minutes? No? So all happy with those? Good. Do I sign each page?
Yes, please. And
Say it was 19. Then approval of payments and signature of the monthly bank reconciliation. Proposal to approve and sign the monthly bank reconciliation of the monthly reports. So, anybody? Sure.
Oh, just a couple of queries. Who are ANG Artillery Group for Town Hall valuation?
they're the A&G are the company who did the refurbishment for the town hall.
They're the builders.
The builders.
Okay, brilliant. And the Baines contribution to HAS, years 3 and 4, 20,000. That's.
Oh yes, that is a bit of a history because it was before obviously my time and Katie's time. When it's a really funny way of doing it. When the town hall refurbishment started, the town council matched funds £30,000 towards the funding. They'd had already paid 10,000. This is the extra 20. But then we get it back again when they pay the invoices. So this is weird. But it was match funding, so we've had to pay them the 20,000, and then we put in a claim for 20,000, and they give it back.
Right. Okay.
It was before Katie and I's time, so we
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All sure?
I'll do.
Yeah. Anybody else? Got any
Are
questions?
you happy with the bank reconciliation?
Yeah.
Oh, could I just say, well done. Not very often you get a bank reconciliation when you've got no unpresented payments and unpresented receipts. So obviously keeping on top of everything. So yeah, well done.
Right, so that's done. Item number 6, review of following policies before adopting by full council. Dispensation policy and the civility respect councillor officer protocol.
I'm starting to go back on the policies because obviously I was busy with budgets and stuff, so the policies are going to start making an appearance again. This is because you have councils given them a chance to have a dispensation and you didn't have a policy. So it's a policy that's going to be requested dispensation.
We did have a policy at some point, because I remember previously reading through the interesting flowchart diagram. So I don't know what happened to it, but we definitely did have one.
But all your policies need redoing because they hadn't been reviewed for at least 2 or 3 years.
Oh, 100% increase in review.
So
But we
this
did
is-
have one, but I'm happy with the current one.
Chair?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think there might be a paragraph missing when you compare it with other town councils' dispensation policies that say the same thing. And the thing that kind of like twigged me onto this is that actually in the policy that we've got, it doesn't actually say who's responsible for giving the dispensations. Now that can be the town council or it can be the town clerk. So I thought, oh, I wonder if there's something not right here. And I did find an almost identical policy from Ample Town Council and identified that there was literally just a section missing and that it actually overcame a page change, so it's not surprising. So I'm just wondering, Kate, if that is the case.
Probably might have been.
But obviously we do need to have agree who's going to decide the dispensations.
I think in the standing orders, don't quote me on this, but I think in the standing orders in generally it's your proper officer who gives the dispensation.
Well, we have it on the town council agenda, which would suggest that it's the town council. But the section that's missing, if I could just pass this over to you, this is the policy I've had. It's the section 4, consideration by the town council, and I think there's slightly, it says section 3, process for making request. Other than that, it's absolutely identical. But section 3, process for making request, then it has section 4, consideration by town council. After that, it's then exactly the same again. So I just literally think there's a piece being omitted.
Which
3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Well, a bit of 3 and a bit of 4. Now I'm going to say I haven't actually brought with me. I thought I printed it all out. I've got the members and officers protocol. I've got that bit.
That says process for making requests. We've got procedure for making requests. Any councillor who wishes to apply, so that's the same. So it starts up.
So, I've forgotten the one page about it. It's
No, that's free.
because it hasn't
So
got
it's what we've got in that bit.
Alright.
And then consider about the town council, so it's this bit.
Who have you got to?
That's quite a charge, yeah.
It's quite a good one. It's like snakes and ladders.
Yeah.
I think all balls like
Because you've got procedures making any council wishes to apply.
But it says,
If you've got financial
so what
interest.
you're saying it is not in there who allows it?
It's not in our policy, and for what it appears, it's just a small section.
It says any councillor who wishes to apply for a dispensation must, if possible, complete and submit a dispensation form to the town clerk at least 2 working days before the meeting.
That's not the bit I'm referring to. Have you got a
That's
copy
it,
of
four.
about policy?
No, I haven't.
So have you got a policy about?
Number 4 there, is that one?
Excuse me. Yeah, it's and then you've got the agenda format. It's the first bit. It says a decision will be taken at a town council meeting. The town council may grant a dispensation.
Well, I'll need to check the standing orders because I think in the standing orders and in normal cases it's normally the proper officer who gives the dispensation.
Yeah, I recognise that. But yes, but it is that bit.
Just that one.
Yeah, so if you hang on to
That's it. So therefore propose it be deferred and come back again.
Second.
That's the proposal.
Yes, I'll second that.
I think one thing we need to look at when we start looking at dispensation is we need more clarity on what determines a conflict of interest in the first place within a town council environment. It's clear it's much clearer in Baines, but that town council everything's a bit closer. So, for example, if you're a trustee of I know the community trust. Do you have to declare a conflict of interest if we're discussing a budget or a grant payment to the community trust? I suspect the answer is yes, but then I suspect the answer would be you would then get a dispensation because it's not, you're not benefiting yourself personally from the fund or the grant. But it's just understanding that side of things as to what we consider to be a declaration of interest.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point because I'm aware of the fact as I'm on the community trust.
Me too.
That's an issue now. As far as I understand from the standing orders, I've asked Baines for this and they haven't got back to me on it, but in our declarations of interests, we have stated our interests, and I think we have an automatic dispensation for anything that we've stated, but we should still mention it at the beginning of the meeting. I think that's the rule.
No, you don't have the only automatic dispensation you have that you don't need to mention is for the precept because it affects everybody.
Right.
And if you had a town council planning application right for the town.
Right.
So it might be worth just looking at some clarification on that aspect. Just because we don't get picked up at some point that grants being awarded to either within the community trust and things like that, or even outside bodies and outside groups. We want to make sure it's
So I know in the past when we've had grant applications, people have been involved with that group in some way. Their children have mentioned that, haven't they?
Yeah, so as the cadets, we gave money to the cadets for a grant, but somebody here had got their children in the cadets, then they would have to.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But also I think one of the areas where clarity really is required is this whole business of trustees, because if you are a trustee, I think part of the issue as to whether it's actually a pecuniary or a personal interest is whether or not you're in a position of managerial control. Is that right, Kate, where you're discussing? If you're in a position of managerial control as a trustee and you control the finances and you make the decisions on the finances, then that's different from just being on.
Right.
Yeah, that's the pecuniary, which I can't say, because that's finance.
Yeah.
It's so if you example, because we tend to use these in planning applications. So if you had a house next door, if you lived in a house and the house next door was having, an extension, and that would affect the value of your house, that's a pecuniary interest because it actually affects a financial.
Yeah.
So if you were, we all wear different hats. So if I'm the treasurer of the village hall, not here, but if they came to you for a grant, if I was a councillor, I would have to say I'm the treasurer of the village hall. But if I was just as a member of the committee, then it's slightly. So if I was the treasurer, I really should step out of the room and not be part of it at all. But if I was a committee member, I could have an option to take part and vote or discuss.
So in terms of community trust, it's Alex or who has the authority to spend and allocate money. So it all goes through him, and then he doesn't do the finances, do the Sharon does the finances. So that conflict would arise. Is there something there that we could add to the? Suggest we could add to the.
I suspect it probably have to come back as a separate agenda item, wouldn't
Next,
it?
it will be on the next F&O as another item. I was trying to get this through before the end of the year, but that's fine.
Okay, so that's that one. So we're deferring the.
I'm going to defer it to the next F&O because your full council is looking rather full anyway. Okay, so I don't really want to add anything else to the report.
Just one other option about interests, because obviously one of the things that we don't deal with is dual-rated. And sometimes there are interests there. Now, one of the ways that councils have done it in the past is they've actually written things into their standing orders. And they've also written in the whole business about the precept and said all councils have an automatic dispensation. So you could actually, Kate, consider actually putting a clause in the standing orders. And then if you also wanted to say, all dual councillors also have a automatic dispensation for, discussion. Because, for instance, some of these things, like, us paying Baines and this, that and the other, potentially there could be a conflict of interest there.
Well, the standing orders will be coming for review because they have to be done every year at the council meeting on the 8th of May. And they will probably go out to you what I will try, I can't promise, about 2 weeks before, because at the town council you have to review the standing orders, your financial regulations, and those 3 you have to do every year. The others you can do as and when.
Okay, so
Defer to next
move on,
meeting.
yes, move on to the councillor officer protocol. Anybody? Points?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a worthwhile addition.
Well, we've had that since the beginning, haven't we?
I don't know if we've had that one specifically. We certainly did training at one point which discussed all of those things.
But yeah, that looks good. Yeah.
My only question was because this is a really good document, you know, and I think it's very worthwhile. But I am aware that the councils have moved on somewhat towards civility and respect. So I just wanted to check that it's not in opposition to anything that's going on with the new civility and respect.
No, they adopted the civility, the town council adopted civility, they've actually done it twice. They did it about a year ago and then they did it again a few months later.
Okay.
They have opted the national civility, non-civility and respect, and we have a certificate. I have no idea what the number is, but we do have a certificate. So this is on the back of that.
Okay. Good.
I was going to say that I think I didn't realise this at the time, but that councillor officer protocol is part of the civility and respect programme, I guess, that's advocated by NOG. So it's part of the same thing. So, but I mean, people, I know it's difficult to read things, but it's worthwhile document to read through because it really sort of explains the relationship councillors should have between each other and with the staff, which I think helps everybody.
Yeah. Good. So we have a proposer.
You don't actually need to propose and second everything, because there's only certain things like the budget, election, most things you just have to just resolve.
Right.
Show of hands and I can just put resolve.
So we vote.
We're suggesting the full council adopt it. Is that?
Yeah.
It will go to full council to be adopted.
Okay, good. Item 7, proposal for a contribution for the deputy clerk to study the community governance. Cheryl?
So I'd like to propose that we move standing order, whichever one it is. Standing order 10.11 to exclude the person public from the meeting, because I do feel that this is a matter pertaining to a member of staff, and that therefore, beg your pardon, is this the right one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that therefore this should be discussed under confidential business.
Sorry,
I'd like to propose that
Doesn't need to be. It doesn't actually need to be. This doesn't need to be under private confidential because it's. I am asking you if you would pay for some training. It's in your budget, and it's open and transparency to say that you're paying to come with the clerks. I'm quite happy with it not to be private.
Well, I'd like to propose.
I'd
like to propose, having been in this situation a few times, that it's deferred to the staffing committee to be discussed with the clerk, who ultimately is in charge of all staffing matters, and I feel that the staffing committee itself specifically.
Why are you pushing for this? It's a great idea. We want our staff to be as trained and as capable as possible. I don't understand why anyone's putting barriers up in the way of actually just agreeing this and moving on.
Because having had various issues in the past regarding staffing,
Staffing. Sorry.
well, I was going to say, I think it's the sort of thing that
This is going to get bounced around. Staffing can't make financial decisions, so if it goes to staffing, they'll say yes or no. If they say yes, it will then go to finance. If I have actually already started it, I started it 2 weeks ago, and the first payment is due 1st of April.
Okay. But I still propose it's discussed with the staffing committee, with the clerk, who's, as far as I'm concerned, head of all staffing and training for the entire council. So I feel that's why it should be deferred to the staffing committee to make a recommendation to council if they're not allowed to resolve it within their own delegated.
Right, I don't agree. I'm not supporting that. It's training. It's something that we budgeted for. Only a matter of weeks ago we discussed it and we added it into the budget. We knew this was coming. We put it in the budget. It's staff training. It's not salary. It's not income. It's training for staff.
I do have questions to ask that I don't feel it would be appropriate to ask in public business, and I also feel that it isn't just about staff training, because if you read our training policy, it affects salary, and we don't have that information here to make that decision.
Sorry, this is not related to salary.
It is, if you read our training.
How is it related to salary?
Because if this training is awarded, and obviously if the deputy clerk is successful, which I'm sure she will be,
Well, then why are we
there is automatically an increase in salary, but we don't know what that will be.
So you're talking about whether she gets a pay rise when she completes the course. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I
Sorry,
am.
That's a separate issue from the one we're talking about today,
and that's
which is
the
the
reason
cost
why
of
I'm
training.
asking for this to be discussed under confidential
I must
business.
interrupt again. I don't think this is the correct forum to be discussing people in the third person about matters which I think are not. This isn't the correct forum, so that's what I'll say. And that's what
This is the F&O, which is where we discuss finance and ops. And in a recent budget, we allocated funds in the budget for this purpose, for staff training. And this is the first of those requests to release the funds for staff training. Now, I really don't see why anyone should have any problem with that whatsoever.
Well, I propose it's deferred to staffing. Does anyone second that?
That doesn't sound. No. So, the Chair has proposed that we move it down to get out of public.
I can do it. I can do it now as resolved on the public session, but it wouldn't get minuted anyway to what you discuss. I can certainly put in the minutes resolved under private session, and we can do that now. But there's nobody here, and what you would discuss, whether it's under private session or whether it's public, it would just say what your decision is. So it doesn't actually
recorded.
Yes, being recorded, that's the point.
Well, I can switch the recording off if we're going into private session. But personally, I don't agree with this, and I would personally propose that we accept the recommendation.
If you want to make that proposal, make the proposal.
Well, but Cheryl's proposal is the first proposal. There's a second.
Well, I will second it goes into confidential session for any further discussion, because it's an inappropriate discussion to be having in public.
Right. So do we vote on when we move it to?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have said that, but if we've got people who are concerned to that level, then it's not going to do any harm for this meeting. Just
I think it is. This is a public forum, and if anyone's got a problem with us training our staff, then I don't think that's something we discuss in private. That's something we discuss in public. It's as simple as that. We're not being asked. The clerks made it very clear that we're not discussing anything here that should be moving into a private session. So I don't understand why you suddenly feel the need to have some sort of secret meeting to discuss something which is a public interest matter. It's training our staff.
We do seem to be going down in circles.
We are going in
to
circles.
address things that might, it's not a comfortable situation. So we've got a proposer and a seconder for just and one vote for moving it to private discussion. Are we carrying that? So we can carry the same discussion on, but just a little bit later. We vote on that.
Well, it's just a case of switching off the
floor.
Right.
It's 4 out of 6.
So we'll
That's
move it.
resolved. So turn cameras off, please.